All right, so we have the slides posted for this presentation on our website. If you'd like to open it up and follow along, you can go to denvergov.org/marijuana information. And then, Joey, can you see my screen?
Yes, and your screen has the information. So this is the marijuana info page.
Perfect. So if you want to access the presentation that we're going to go through today, just because there are some links to resources in there that you may want to follow along with, you can go to denvergov.org/marijuana information. Go to marijuana social equity. This is the hub for all of our information for social equity applicants. And then you can scroll down and click on resources and support for social equity applicants. And on this page, you can find recordings and slides from all of the sessions that we've had so far. Information sessions, delivery sessions, all that information is here under Denver Social Equity Sessions. And you can see that the slides from today's sessions are right here. So you can open that up and then you'll be able to follow along with us.
Highly recommend that you would go back and look at the previous delivery sessions as well.
Okay, let's get started. I'm going to share the slides. Let's see. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our information session on delivery. We've done one delivery information session before, so highly recommend if you haven't watched the recording of that to go ahead and do so. That'll provide a base of knowledge for delivery in Denver. But today's session is about just frequently asked questions that we've been getting from people about delivery and wanting to make sure that we answer those questions for everybody who might have the same question. So I'm Abby Borchers. I'm a policy analyst with the Department of Excise and Licenses in Denver, which issues marijuana licenses to marijuana businesses. Joey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Joey Pena. I'm a cannabis process navigator for the Department of Excise and Licenses. So I work closely with our licensees and city agencies to help businesses apply and then stay in compliance with their businesses.
Great. And then Jacob, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jake Zuckerman. I'm a compliance investigator with the State Marijuana Enforcement Division, focused primarily on background investigations, which include renewals, small change applications, and delivery permits.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jacob. We always appreciate having MED represented in these meetings. Okay, so we'll just jump right into it. These are really just questions that Joey and I get a lot, as well as questions that have come up in inspections and questions that MED has been getting. So the first is, what is the difference between a transporter license and a delivery permit? I know they can sort of sound like the same thing. They both sort of mean that you're delivering marijuana somewhere. But a transporter license is an underlying license that allows the licensee to do business-to-business transportation of marijuana. A delivery permit is an add-on to a transporter license, and the delivery permit allows the transporter to also do home deliveries in addition to business transportation. They can't do deliveries and B2B transportation at the same time, but it allows the business to do both functions. Can I deliver marijuana to a customer if I am a store with a delivery permit? In Denver, the answer to that question is no. So stores in Denver are required to contract with a transporter that holds a Denver delivery permit in order to do delivery to customers. So if you're a store and you have a delivery permit, that in Denver, that doesn't allow you to do deliveries to customers. It allows you to contract with a transporter to do deliveries to customers. At the state level, the delivery permit allows stores to do deliveries to customers. So that might be different in different jurisdictions, but for Denver, stores do have to contract with a transporter, whether they're in Denver or delivering into Denver. Does each employee of a delivery company need a delivery permit too? No, employees don't need their own delivery permits. they do have to have a valid employee license issued by the Marijuana Enforcement Division. So the owners of the business have to have owner licenses issued by MED. Employees have to have employee licenses. And then the business itself has to have a delivery permit as well as a transporter license in order to do deliveries.
Abby, I think that's a good point on that. What you just said to your first question, what's the difference between a transporter license and a delivery permit? That you cannot just apply for a delivery permit. That is not its own license type. You would have to have that transporter license and a delivery permit in order to conduct those deliveries. So we have seen some folks try to submit standalone delivery permit applications, and those applications are rejected because there's no underlying transporter license. So it's important that you understand that you need the transporter license plus the delivery permit.
Thanks, Joey. One question we've gotten quite a bit is how transporters can find stores to contract with to do deliveries, and how stores can find transporters to contract with to do their deliveries. So we have published a list of licensees that hold delivery permits on our website. If you've got the presentation open, you can click on that link there on the left to the list of marijuana delivery permits, and that screen grab is just showing what that portal looks like. So you can see that it'll tell you what the license type is. So whether it's a medical store or a retail store or a medical or retail transporter, whether the license is active, the entity name, and then the trade name. So the entity name is the business's legal name, and then the trade name is what they go by. So LGK LLC is the entity name, but they're known as Strawberry Fields. And then it'll tell you the license expiration date. And this list is updated every day. So it's really the best way to find out which stores and transporters do have active valid delivery permits in Denver. I'm going to turn it over to Joey to talk about these next few slides.
Thanks, Abby. So this question, how long is it taking the city to process applications for delivery permits? Folks are really curious about this timeline to better understand from their time of application to the time that they may begin operations, what's that look like for them? Generally, we can process a delivery permit for a store in about 1 to 2 weeks and about 4 to 5 weeks for transporters. When the businesses are responsive, when they follow application instructions, when they're prepared for inspections, it really can take about 3 to 4 weeks for those transporter businesses, and we can move quite quickly. We've learned this week that there's one less required inspection. Our public health team is no longer going to be inspecting on delivery businesses, on delivery vehicles. So that can also help speed up the process. We've seen on some of the early applications, some common errors. So folks who are providing incorrect insurance information, or their application has a VIN number or license plate number that doesn't match the information they provide on their registration or insurance. So we're really asking folks to follow those application instructions and really pay close attention to the application before they submit, because that will make things go faster. For stores and for transporters, we do have to have a state license and state permit before we will issue a city license or permit. So if the store has not yet applied with the state for their delivery permit, we may be waiting a little bit of time before we can actually close that with the city. So instead of a week, it may take 2 or 3. So there's nuance in this, but generally if the business, again, is really on top of their applications, they've applied to the state, they've applied to the city, we can do things pretty quickly. There is, with new transporter businesses, I believe there's a 45-day period for the MED to be able to review that application before it can take action. So that also factors in here when you're applying. Certainly something that can help and that can make this process go faster directly relates to the second question. who should I contact about questions with my application? That is me. I am the Cannabis Process Navigator for the Department of Excise and Licenses. There is a link in this presentation. So at the beginning, Abby showed you how to find this presentation on our website. The link, schedule time to meet with Joey, is exactly what it sounds like. It's scheduling time to meet with me. Generally, what will happen is if we've received your state application, I will reach out to you to ask you to schedule that time with me. But if you just have questions about the process and what you might need, what the application requires, you can use that link to schedule an hour with me. It automatically sets an in-person and virtual option for our meeting. And then I will generally confirm, hey, do you want to do in person? Do you want to do virtual? Do you want to do a phone call? So I can say very confidently that working with folks who have scheduled time to meet with me to work on their applications, their application process has run much more smoothly, and we're able to get this done a lot more quickly. So this is I think one of the critical services that we're offering to our equity applicants is this real one-on-one time to work through your application and any questions that you might have. How can I prepare for my inspection? First, read the rules. There is no substitute for reading the rules and understanding everything that is expected of you as a licensee. It is absolutely critical that you are in compliance with all rules. So the MED Rule Series 3615 for regulated marijuana delivery permits, the Denver Revised Municipal Code, Section 6210 for marijuana delivery permits. And then we do have an inspection checklist that we'll shift to in just a sec, but looking back at those rules, you're really going to want to make sure that you're also, if you have a transporter license, you're reading the rules that are relevant to transporters. Be sure that you're extremely familiar with those rules so that some of this doesn't catch you off guard. The delivery vehicle inspection checklist. So in order to really be prepared for your inspections, this is sort of what we have now. I would preface this by saying that this is still a very new license and permit type for the city. And so we're working through these early inspections. We're learning, we're helping educate our applicants and customers. So an excise and licenses inspection is going to include this, but is not limited to this. So this list may evolve over time as we're kind of seeing new things and discovering more. So I would say that this is a very good baseline understanding of what to expect during your inspection. But certainly you should expect to have other questions arise when you're meeting with one of our inspectors. I mentioned a bit ago that our public health team have done inspections for our first half dozen or so licensees. And during those conversations have decided that their public health concerns, that there aren't significant public health concerns with how delivery is being rolled out, and so have determined that they no longer need to conduct that inspection. So this simplifies the process for our applicants. It's an efficiency for our applicants. The only required inspection for your delivery motor vehicles now will be with an excise and licenses inspector. And what you can expect to see, again, including this, but not limited to this, is that our inspectors will be looking at vehicle documents, vehicle registration in the vehicle, proof of insurance in the vehicle, copy of your state business license and delivery permit in the vehicle. That's generally only applicable if the state licenses and permits have been issued. Sometimes we're working pretty parallel with the state on these application processes. So you may not have that on your first inspection, which our inspectors understand. A copy of your city business license and city delivery permit in the vehicle. Again, that's not applicable on a new license inspection, but it would be applicable on an annual or compliance inspection further down the road. Record keeping, again, not applicable on new license inspections, but you can expect to have a conversation with your inspector about this. They want to help you understand requirements for transport manifests, for records of sales, so receipts for all of the cannabis that's in your vehicle. Also, we will be looking at the vehicle tracking system, making sure that it's operational at the time of the inspection. So we're going to ask to actually see it operating and see how it works. That we're going to check to see that the system tracks and records the delivery routes, that the system has real-time and remote access, which may be app-based, and that the real-time location is hidden from customers. Vehicle markings, also going to be checking to be sure that the vehicle has no external markings that indicate that the vehicle is used for delivery of marijuana or owned or leased by a marijuana business. We'll be looking at the security alarm system, verifying that you have a security alarm system and that it is operational at the time of the inspection. We're going to be looking at the secure storage, making sure that you have a secure, locked, opaque storage compartment that's securely affixed to the vehicle, and making sure that no marijuana would be visible from outside of the vehicle. With video surveillance needs to be operational at the time of the inspection. Your inspector is going to want to see that the video surveillance is adequate, that the vehicle is equipped with surveillance that digitally records during all deliveries, and that cameras cover the marijuana storage compartment and records the front view of the vehicle. We're also going to be looking at video retention to make sure that you have 40 days of video retention with the date and the time embedded. The 40-day requirement is not applicable on all new license inspections because you won't necessarily, if you have no license, you should absolutely not be making any deliveries. And so the video recordings, what they're going to want to do, what the inspector is going to want to do is have that touch point with you to make sure that you understand that that's the requirement. And then an electronic ID scanner, the electronic ID scanner needs to be operational at the time of inspection and need to understand better how that works. So you may be asked to kind of demonstrate that it is operational and that it works. So like we said, this inspection list is subject to change at any time. We're all still really learning about this and figuring it out. But the better prepared you are for the inspection, the less time it will take you to ultimately receive your city license and permit. We've been asked a number of times about adding or removing a delivery vehicle from a fleet. So we have created a form and a process for the addition or removal of delivery motor vehicles. You must complete and submit an addition or removal of delivery motor vehicle application if you're planning to add or remove a vehicle from your fleet. The application form and the step-by-step instructions are on the Apply for a Marijuana Delivery Permit website. So the website is going to be your best bet for information on this. It's going to have clear step-by-steps. I highly, highly recommend you read applications carefully and not just move through and start to sign and fill in fields without reading the application requirements, delivery permit restrictions, the license information, the vehicle information. All of that is really critical to your success and to submitting an application that is complete and more likely to move a little bit more quickly. Each vehicle must pass an inspection before it can be used for deliveries. So we are not going to be saying, yeah, you can go ahead and start using that vehicle until we can get to an inspection. It has to pass inspections first. That's a must. And so what we have said on the application is to only include vehicles that are ready to be inspected. That's on your initial delivery permit application and on the addition application. If you're planning with your initial application, if you're planning to have 10 vehicles, but only 2 have secure storage and video surveillance and only 2 are ready to pass an inspection, you may want to consider not including all 10 of those vehicles because we will not pass 2 vehicles and just wait on the other 8. So only include on your applications vehicles that are ready for inspection. You can add a vehicle at any time after. So if you start with 2 vehicles and eventually build your fleet to 10 through these addition applications, that's fine, but just include the vehicles that are ready for inspection. Again, you cannot use a vehicle unless all vehicles on the application pass that inspection.
Okay, thanks, Joey. So just a few more compliance related questions that we've been getting. Who creates and updates the transport manifest, the store or the transporter? So in order to do deliveries, you have to have a transport manifest that indicates the destination of where you're taking the marijuana to. Generally, the store creates and modifies that transport manifest. They're the ones accepting the order. They're the ones who would input the address into the transport manifest, and then the transporter would actually transport the marijuana to that address. However, if the transporter is modifying any information in the transport manifest, then MED rules require the transporter to maintain a physical licensed premises. So it's important to note that there's a certain amount of communication that has to go on between the transporter and the store, where the store is updating the transport manifest. The transporter is reading and executing the transport manifest, but they're not actually the ones modifying any information if that transporter doesn't have a licensed premises. So if you're a no premises transporter, meaning you don't have a licensed building that you conduct your business out of, it's just you and your vehicle, you shouldn't be modifying any information in the transport manifest. That's the store's responsibility. What if someone steals the memory card out of the surveillance camera in my vehicle? So Joey touched a little on that video surveillance requirement. And so we've seen that some people are just have a memory card in their camera in their vehicle that's doing the recording of all the deliveries. The answer is that video surveillance footage has to be kept for a minimum of 40 days and be reproducible upon request from law enforcement, the Marijuana Enforcement Division, or excise and licenses. You are responsible for retaining that footage. How you choose to do that is up to you. But if the memory card is stolen out of your vehicle and you lose all that footage, you could face a violation for not having those 40 days of footage or not being able to produce it upon request. So it's recommended that you have a backup way of storing that footage. So maybe you're uploading it to the cloud every day. Maybe it's recording to a DVR in a separate location, whatever it needs to be that allows you to have that video footage reproducible upon request and retained for 40 days. What receipts am I required to have in the vehicle? You are required to keep a record of sale for all marijuana in the vehicle, and that's a Denver requirement. So this could be a receipt, it could be paper, it could be electronic, or some other record of the sale, as long as it shows the retail price of each marijuana order in the vehicle. This allows law enforcement to verify the amount of retail marijuana that's in the vehicle to ensure that you're in compliance with that inventory limit that's required of your vehicle. So an enclosed vehicle can't have more than $5,000 of retail value of marijuana in the vehicle, and a non-enclosed vehicle can't have more than $2,000 of retail value of marijuana in the vehicle. So those receipts allow law enforcement to verify that. They also allow law enforcement to verify that the marijuana is coming from a regulated source and that it's not just unregulated marijuana being moved around. These are some questions about where marijuana can be delivered. So is there a restriction on the distance that marijuana can be delivered? No, there's no limit on how far you can go from the originating store, but there are requirements about where you can and cannot deliver marijuana. So can I deliver to a residence outside of Denver? Yes, as long as the residence is located in a jurisdiction that allows marijuana delivery and has not prohibited deliveries from outside its jurisdiction. So you can take marijuana from a store in Denver to, say, Aurora, because Aurora has affirmatively allowed for delivery and they have not prohibited deliveries from outside their jurisdiction. So Cities have the ability to opt out of delivery. They have the ability to opt into delivery, or they can stay silent on delivery. If they opt out or they stay silent on delivery, you can't deliver there. They have to have affirmatively opted in. They also have the ability to say, we aren't allowing any deliveries into our city from outside. So in that event, you also would not be allowed to deliver there. So it's highly recommended if you're looking at delivering outside of Denver that you make sure you understand the laws and rules of each jurisdiction that surrounds Denver that you might be delivering into. Can I pick up an order from a store outside of Denver and deliver to a residence in Denver? Yes. Again, using the Aurora example, you could go to a store in Aurora and pick up an order and bring it to a residence in Denver, as long as you have a contract with that store and the store has a valid state delivery permit and a delivery permit from their local licensing authority if the local licensing authority requires it. For deliveries to come into Denver from outside of Denver, they have to be transported by a Denver licensed transporter with a Denver delivery permit. Can I deliver marijuana to a park, restaurant, or other public property? No, you can only deliver to private residences. Delivery to public or commercial property is prohibited. Is delivery to a short-term rental allowed? Yes. In Denver, short-term rentals have to be private residences, and so delivery to a private residence is allowed. Is delivery to a hotel allowed? This one's a little trickier. If the customer or the patient lives at the hotel and the hotel does not prohibit marijuana on its premises, then yes, you can deliver there. However, it's on the marijuana business to verify that the customer or the patient actually lives at the hotel and that the hotel does not prohibit marijuana on the premises. So how you choose to do that is up to you. There's several different ways that you could make sure that that's the case, or you could choose to just not deliver to hotels. It's really up to your risk tolerance and your tolerance for liability. What are the advertising rules for delivery businesses? Delivery businesses are subject to the same advertising rules as all other marijuana businesses in Denver. Just note that Denver's requirements may be stricter than the state's advertising requirements, and so they also may be different in other cities. So what's allowed? Delivery businesses can place advertisements in a newspaper, magazine, or other periodical of general circulation, as long as 71.6% of the audience is reasonably believed to be 21 or older for retail marijuana and 18 or older for medical marijuana. Advertising that is purely incidental to sponsorship of a charitable event is allowed, as long as 71.6% of the audience is reasonably believed to be 21 or older for retail marijuana and 18 or older for medical marijuana. Apparel, consumer goods, or paraphernalia containing a marijuana business's name, logo, or distinct design features, but no other advertising of the business is allowed. Consumer goods in this case is defined as goods primarily used for personal, family, or household purposes, but that does not include vehicles. So that could be things like tumblers, lanyards, koozies, just sort of swag items, but not vehicles. And then what is not allowed? So delivery vehicles are not allowed to have external markings that indicate that the vehicle is owned or leased by a marijuana business or is being used for marijuana delivery. Advertising that is visible to the public from a public place is not allowed. Billboards or other outdoor advertising devices are not allowed. Vehicle mounted, handheld, or other portable signs are prohibited. Handbills, leaflets, or flyers distributed in a public place, left on a motor vehicle, or posted on public or private property are prohibited. And then you cannot engage in false advertising or advertising that appeals to minors. Can you make a second delivery to a home to a different individual. So for example, if one roommate orders marijuana in the morning, and then the other roommate orders marijuana to the same address in the afternoon, could you make that delivery? And the answer is no. A licensee cannot deliver marijuana to the same person or the same residence more than once per day, and cannot deliver to a person or residence if the licensee knows or reasonably should know that that person or residence has already received a delivery that same business day. However you choose to verify that is up to you and your business's compliance practices. But if you're using an online platform provider, the online platform provider must notify you if there's already been a delivery to that address already that day. So it's really a knows or reasonably should know. So say your delivery driver drops off a marijuana order to an apartment unit and sees the person, drops it off, makes the transaction, and then that same day they come back to the same unit and they recognize that it's the same unit, it's just a different person, they can't make that delivery. So it's sort of a knows or reasonably should know standard. This does not prohibit a licensee from making a delivery to more than one person at the same residence at the same time. So going back to our example, if both roommates placed an order at the same time and the delivery was going to arrive at the same time, you could deliver to both roommates at the same residence at the same time because they're each getting their own order, and you're not visiting that residence twice in the same day. What if I can't complete a delivery order? For example, if a person presented a fake ID and you couldn't complete the transaction, or if the person wasn't home to receive the order. If you can't complete a delivery order for any reason, you must return the marijuana to the store it came from. If the container is unopened and hasn't been tampered with, the store can return the marijuana into its inventory. Otherwise, the marijuana has to be destroyed. Okay, that covers our planned questions. If you have additional questions after this session, you can always email marijuanainfo@denvergov.org and me or Joey will field that question. If you need assistance in Spanish, you can email licenses@denvergov.org. If you have questions about state rules and regulations, you can contact the Marijuana Enforcement Division using the link to that inquiry form there. And then I would highly encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to review the Marijuana Enforcement Division's delivery FAQ document. They've already answered a ton of questions about delivery and really cleared up some things that might be confusing to you, or provided some additional information about different things like social equity, status and delivery, how to pay taxes, things like that. So highly recommend checking that out. That link is in the presentation. So now we will open it up to some of the questions in the Q&A box. How many orders may be transported at a time? Is there a limit? There's not a limit on the number of orders that can be transported at a time. There is a limit on the amount of inventory you can have in a delivery vehicle. So an enclosed delivery vehicle cannot contain more than $5,000 in retail value of marijuana. And a non-enclosed delivery vehicle, so like a motorcycle, cannot contain more than $2,000 in retail value of marijuana. So we require that delivery drivers keep receipts for every item that's in the vehicle so that law enforcement can verify compliance with that requirement. So receipts need to show, receipts or a record of sale need to show the retail value of the marijuana that's in the car. Let's see.
I can answer. So we had can the goods only be put in storage after the order has been placed? So the state rule says regulated marijuana cannot be placed into a delivery motor vehicle until after an order has been received and the regulated marijuana has been packaged and labeled for delivery to the patient or consumer.
Another one that Jacob has answered in the Q&A, but I'll just read it just so other people can hear the answer. The question was, I'm aware that transporters can temporarily store marijuana in an off-premises location. Is there a limit on the amount of product that I can hold in off-premises? Is there a time limit that one can hold it there? The answer is that only stores that hold a valid off-premises storage facility license can have a delivery originate from their off-premises storage facility. There's no max amount of regulated marijuana that can be stored or a time frame for storage, as long as the product is only packaged for delivery after the order has been placed. A transporter picking up a product from an off-premises storage facility must provide information for manifest completion. A transporter cannot store delivery product at their own off-premises storage facility, and deliveries must be completed within the same business day or otherwise must be returned to their place of origin by the end of the same business day. Thanks for that answer, Jacob. Any other questions? Feel free to throw them in the Q&A box. How is the $5,000 calculated? Is it based on cost or retail? The $5,000 is the retail value of marijuana in the vehicle. Can a store apply for an off-premises storage facility now, or do they have to wait until 2024? A store can apply for an off-premises storage facility permit now. The 2024 timeline is for conducting deliveries. So until July 1st, 2024, a store has to contract with a transporter to do deliveries, but there's no prohibition on having an off-premises storage facility for a store.
And on that, I would note that that process is outlined on our webpage on the marijuana delivery, or on the, marijuana permits, marijuana licenses and permits webpage. And so under the apply for a new marijuana business license or permit page, it'll have the step-by-step process and the application in order to apply for that off-premise storage facility permit.
Is the $5,000 retail value of marijuana allowed in the vehicle or after tax? Jacob, do you happen to know the answer to that question? That may not be contemplated in rule.
No, I don't think it is addressed in rule, but that's definitely a question that I'll record that and get a consensus and get back to you guys so that you guys can put that information.
Awesome. Are delivery businesses allowed to collaborate if they have established contracts, operating agreements, etc.? My understanding of the question is, can delivery businesses work together to do deliveries? There's nothing in rule that I'm aware of that would prevent that. Every transporter business needs its own license and its own delivery permit and has to have its own contracts with the stores that they're doing deliveries for. But as long as those requirements are met, I don't see why not. Any other questions? Feel free to pop them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we can wrap up early.
And again, I would just encourage everyone to go back to the resources page that Abby had pointed out at the beginning of the presentation to review the previous video recordings and slide decks for our delivery sessions, to review this FAQ. There are a tremendous number of resources there as we've kind of continued to do this outreach. And so would encourage you to take advantage of that and start to look through some of that. I think it certainly helps if we have folks on here who are contemplating this kind of business type to start to do some of that preliminary research before reaching out, so that you understand what kinds of fees you may be paying, what your kind of first, second, third steps are going to be in the process, I tend to find it really helpful when folks have started to review some of that, so that when they schedule time to sit down with a conversation with us, you have a baseline understanding of what we're talking about.
So I'll just go through one more time for folks who might have missed it at the beginning, how to access this presentation as well as past presentations we've done. denvergov.org/marijuana info is a landing page for all things marijuana in the city of Denver. This is that page. So you've got information about how to apply for licenses and permits, our social equity information, laws, rules, and regulations. These top three are really the most relevant to licensees. If you click on marijuana social equity, you can scroll down here and click on resources and support for social equity applicants. And this page is just a great resource. It's really got everything you would need to know if you're trying to get into this industry as a social equity applicant. It has links to sign up for our marijuana information bulletin, the MED's email list, some recommended reading. So the Denver Marijuana Code, MED rules, MED's social equity website. And then here you can click on Denver social equity sessions, and you can see that there are recordings of all the sessions we've done since May. So the initial social equity information sessions are great ones to look at if you haven't. We also have the slides from those sessions so that you can click on all the links. We've got a whole recording of an introduction to all of our new marijuana websites. Highly recommend checking out the delivery information session. There's recording as well as those presentation slides. And then the slides from today's sessions are right here, and then we'll post a recording after this session concludes.
So we do have just, I think, 2 more questions. One, are there resources to outfit the vehicle for security purposes? I'm not quite sure what you mean by resources. However, you should note that we can't make any kind of recommendations or referrals for other private businesses. So we can't tell you what kinds of cameras to use. We can't tell you what kinds of vehicle tracking software to use. The best thing that you can do is to start to do some market research to understand maybe what others are doing, to start reaching out to other businesses, see if they're open to having conversations about that or providing some kind of mentorship. But there are very good reasons why we cannot provide those referrals to folks. I think the primary one being, if we tell you to use a certain camera system and it fails, that ultimately is your responsibility, but then you would go back and say, we told you to use it. So obviously there's good reasons why we cannot provide those kinds of referrals. And so that really is going to be the business's responsibility to identify the best compliant solutions for security purposes. And then another question, when will the office that will be giving financial assistance to those trying to get funding for their finding of suitability? I'm assuming that this is like, when is that office going to be up and running? And I'm assuming that you're referring to the state office. And so I don't have any more information about the state office or financial assistance and what that might look like. My understanding is that they're fairly early stages. So Abby, do you have some more information? Do you?
They've hired the director of the Cannabis business office at the state level. That's housed in the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, but they are, hitting the ground running and trying to get things up and running and get that financial assistance ready as soon as possible. But I don't have any further updates about that.
I did just go ahead and threw a link into that question as well. There is some more information to come on that, but I know it is in the beginning stages.
Thanks, Jacob. Okay. That appears to be all the questions. in the Q&A box, we can wrap up a few minutes early. Sorry, I'm seeing one hand raised in the attendees list, but I'm not sure who it is. Oh, it's Ian. I'll promote you to a panelist, Ian. Or actually, I don't think I have that ability. Molly, can you promote to a panelist?
I think I just did. Let's see if it worked. Oh, and Tristan has his hand up too.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share, just because of that question, I just wanted to share that, some updated dates regarding, oh, and Tristan is on here as well and can also answer it. I didn't see that he was on here, but the Cannabis Business Office is in fact getting the program together, and we'll be sending a newsletter out in the next week or so that will have some information about those updated dates, when grants, loans, and technical assistance will start to become available. And so would encourage people to go to the website to sign up so that you can get the newsletter and stay up to date with what the Cannabis Business Office is doing. But there is intention to get those grants going in the early part of 2022.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to add, Tristan?
I actually don't have anything else to add. That was perfect. I was just going to direct people to the newsletter. We're working hard. It was a brand new office, and we're really excited to get it launched and start helping people as soon as possible. So
great, awesome. Thank you both for attending today. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A box, but like I said, please feel free to email marijuanainfo@denvergov.org. Joey and I can field those questions, and check out the presentation slides on our website. So you can click on all those links that we provided. So thanks everybody for attending another session with us. We're hoping to do more of these in the next few months, and we'll see you all again soon.